Welcome back to a magic night here at Straight Rhythm.
But this guy is no joke. The fans are loving it. STEINKE does it. And this could be it. Running back goes down and down hard.
What's up, everyone? The sun is setting on the final practice here. We are just 23 hours away from Red Bull Straight Rhythm, the 5th edition. Now, it might be the 5th year, but the track looks completely different, and the air definitely smells entirely different as that two-stroke premix is filling up the Fairplex. Welcome to Red Bull Straight Rhythm Revealed. I'm Kate Osborne, and we've landed in Pomona, California, just 30 miles east of Los Angeles. It's called Straight Rhythm Revealed because we're getting up close and personal to the track tonight, to the pits tonight, and of course, getting to know these drivers, getting to know these riders that will be taking on the main event here tomorrow at the Fairplex. And of course, we want you to get involved in our show. How do you do it? Join us on social media. You can join us on our Facebook page, Red Bull Motorsports. Send us your questions, your comments, and of course, we're gonna be with these riders all night long, so if you have a question for them, let us know. And one guy who's no stranger to the two-stroke, and of course, as we take it back to the 90s here this weekend, it's almost not really taking it back for him. He's that defending two-stroke champ from last year, a guy known as Jared STEINKE, but belovedly known as Stink Dog.
Yes, ma'am.
How much does this place give you the feels walking back into the Fairplex?
You know, it gives me chills. You know, it's one of the biggest money races I've won in my career. And, you know, last year, defending champ, we're coming here, we're bringing it, we're ready to take it again this year.
The confidence is you're coming at it really strong, which is so incredible. Is that the win from last year, or is that the comfort that you have on these two strokes?
Yeah, it's the comfort I have on the two strokes. I ride them all year, every year for like the past 5 years. So it's a big advantage for me. I feel very comfortable on the 125 and the 250, but we're really going for that 250 two-stroke race.
You're a guy who's going to be competing with the both 125s and 250 here this weekend. Is that an advantage? I think a lot of times people are curious, is that going to tire you out, or does that really get you to know that track even more?
It has its pros and cons. The pros are we get to ride the track more, but it's a totally different bike. It's half the bike. It's not as powerful. And the rhythm out here, I thought I was going to be doing the same rhythm, and we're not. We're not even jumping the finish line on the 125. So that's where the disadvantage is of having to do different rhythm sections.
Stink Dog, how is that changing your approach, knowing that it's a little bit different than what you had anticipated?
I have to go in there with two mindsets. I have to go in there with a 125 mindset and a 250 mindset, and just be smooth in both of them, and just hit my marks and hit my line smooth, and just don't ride over my head.
That's a really good insight. I think that's going to be the key for a lot of you riders here tonight. Now, this is a place that gives you the chills. How has your career changed this last year since Straight Rhythm?
Just a couple more sponsors and some more money in my pocket.
Hey, and that helps all of these riders and teams. Best of luck out there. Have fun.
Thank you.
Another guy that's going to be meandering in the pits here tonight, a guy that everyone knows in the flat track world, the motocross world, a name and a face very familiar to all. It's our buddy Jason Wygant. What you got there, buddy? Who do you have?
All right, thanks, Kate. It's awesome to be back at Red Bull Straight Rhythm, but it's kind of odd this year because I feel like every time we come here, the track is the star. It's a supercross course, unwound, no turns, only jumps, only whoops. But this year, I think the track is having to take a back seat. The real headline is that we're only racing the old school two-strokes. So instead of innovating and the future of racing, now we're talking about the past. Not only were the two-stroke motorcycles dominant in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but a little more retro flair because we got some old school riders. Some recently retired champions are not retired for one night. Ryan Dungey, you're back as a racer at least once in a race you've done before, but never on a two-stroke.
No, shoot, last time I rode two-strokes or raced two-strokes was 2005. You were probably there,
Loretta's, yeah.
Yep. So rode one here and there. That was a 150, but this is a 250, so it's got a little bit more. But I got 2 weeks on the bike, and I'm really enjoying it, just having a good time. Got the team out here kind of back together, and yeah, it's having a good time.
Well, that is the key, to have fun. But when it's race time tomorrow, can you switch the fun off? Or is it going to go back to old school dungeon? You're just here to win.
Yeah, it's all business when the gate drops.
Okay.
Of course. So, you know, it is fun. We want to go out there and do good. Of course, we go out there to give it our best. So I don't want to go back to old race Ryan, kind of sound like a broken record, but I just looking to get out there and give it the best I can. And, you know, I haven't been on the gate for a year and a half, so it isn't like a supercross or motocross, but it is a gate drop, and there's a little bit of nerves, and no matter who you are, you know, you want to win. You want to get to the end of the lane and the rhythm and take the checkered, so. What have you learned in the 2 weeks you've ridden this 252 stroke? It's a lot different than a four-stroke, yes. The first day I was a fish out of water. It took me a little bit to get the power, the feel of, you know, anybody who knows dirt bikes, four-strokes have a lot of torque. The power's right there. No matter, you know, you can fluctuate between gears and you'll be okay. But these two-strokes, you got to be in the right gear. A 250 does have a lot of torque, more than a 125, so that helps. But still, kind of flattens out on top more than a 450 four-stroke. So it takes a little bit, but by day 2 I felt better, and by this week it's like, okay, I got the feel of the bike down. The guys got it working good. Jim, suspension, we did a bunch of testing, and with Mark as well. So got Chico, my mechanic Carlos, my guy. So it's fun to have the whole gang together. And not only is it your old gang racing-wise, but on the track, Ryan Villopoto's here too. Yeah. And you guys have had some unbelievable battles, maybe some of the best ever. And who knows, maybe we'll get you two head-to-head tomorrow. Yeah, that would be awesome. I think I'd really like to go up against Villo. We just did a little bit of practice runs right there, and he was going good. So, I mean, the guy, he's, like you said, when the gate drops, he's a guy who switches over to that race mode, and it's I felt like I was going rhythm lanes that I felt like when I got to a supercross track, everything felt slower. Oh, okay. So in that regard, that helped. But just the amount of fun we had, I think it's the most funnest race I've had, throughout my whole career. As far as every year, because we'd come here and there wasn't a lot of pressure, there wasn't a lot of expectations. We wanted to win. Marvin usually ended up taking the win, so that was good for the team. But everybody's relaxed, having a good time. I mean, me and Mo were on the two strokes, just having a good time, just trying to help each other, whatever we can, and just everybody's relaxed. And if you know racing at a regular race, it's a little high string. You know, the riders, you don't really get time with them. I wouldn't be here with you right now, But it's just fun, enjoyable. The track's not really super crazy dangerous. It's fast, so you have to use good judgment, but the track's, the rhythm's fun. So just the whole aspect of it all. Red Bull puts on a great deal, and I think hopefully you see a lot more guys starting to do this in the off season, because it almost will lengthen your race career because it's just so much fun. Is there something you learn in the track? Is it going to come down to, like, I have to do this section, or is it come down to I just have to be perfect and do everything perfectly? Or is there something huge you can pull out? There's a couple things that waiting to see what we'll see more tomorrow when the times come out, but there's a few things a couple guys could pull. You'd have to do it consistent, which makes it even tougher. So I'm just trying to go for a rhythm that I feel like I can do every time the same, just as good as the lap before. So and that's the thing, no mistakes, consistency. When you start getting into those trickier sections where the timing has to be perfect, the throttle control, the speed, because it's blind jumps and whatnot. When you start adding that and doing that within the race, your chances of mistakes go up much more. So for me, I'm going to try to do something I can hit every time and just really attack it. All right, that's Ryan, don't you? Just awesome to have you back as a racer, for at least for one night. Yeah, it's missed it. It's a good feeling. It's good to be here with the guys, and just a one-off fun race. All right, get back to work. All right. Ryan Dungey going to go download with the crew. He's just done a ton of practice laps. They have two strokes here for Red Bull. KTM Ryan Morris, who raced this event last year, and it's kind of that ace secret tester for KTM. He'll be competing as well. So they're going over the notes right now. Ryan Dungey's good. Ryan Villopoto, certainly his honors are well known in this sport as well. But there's a lot of riders that can win out here, and that's what makes this event so fun. Let's have more fun. Kate, what's happening on your side of the pits?
That is so incredible to have Ryan Dungey back with us here this weekend. And of course, the golden age of the sport was really defined in the 90s. And it was defined by these two-stroke motorcycles, those hot pink gear sets, and of course, some punk rock music. And if you're taking it back like we're doing here this weekend with some two-stroke competition all weekend long, well, of course, we have some of the greats to tell us why the 90s were cooler.
The 90s were so awesome for moto.
Dude, the 90s were cool. That's all there is to it.
Two strokes, day glow, hot chicks, rad hair.
It was cheaper, it was better, it sounded better.
I pretty much owned that 90s.
two strokes.
Art Ekman, David Bailey.
You had to mix freaking gas. It was just the best.
If I remember correctly, back then the trophy girls did give out kisses.
We were setting trends, we were winning races, we were pulling chicks, we were making money.
Wow, that's been a half lifetime ago.
I can remember being a kid, me having this freaking AXO kidney belt on, and I swear to God, it came up to my nipples.
What are they for? Have we evolved? We don't have kidney issues anymore. I had kidney belts my whole life. What happened? Why do we not need them anymore?
It felt like a waist slimmer. You know those things they sell on TV now, those waist slimmers? Like, that's the way I was wearing it.
Might as well wear a beer belt or something, I don't know.
McGrath wore a kidney belt. Shocked.
Bruise your kidney? I don't know. You're gonna do that without the damn thing around your waist.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I wore a kidney belt.
They're like, hey, we got this new guy, and his name's Seth, and then he started coming out.
No blood in the picture, it's no good, right?
He just jumped ridiculous stuff that was literally not jumpable. And I'm using the word literally, meaning literally, because it would always go badly. And that's what made the guy legend.
I'll go to a doctor if I need to. I don't need to right now.
Oh, Krusty 2, when we're out at Glamis. So I'm watching him, and it's like,
landed on all my brand new Hondas that I had.
I think I had a quote, and I'm like, oh my God, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
I know. That was so dumb.
The legend of the crusty demons of dirt. Who?
Helmet fins.
Ah.
Oh yeah, the 57 Chevy fins that MC had on the back, the blinking light.
Of course, they were wrecked.
Were there any aerodynamics involved at all with this? Did it do anything?
Helmet fins? Of course they made you faster. It's like aerodynamic.
Mine were safe. Pro circuit style.
I like the light-up ones myself that like Ernesto Fonseca used to rock.
I did have a light up one. Forgot about that.
I hated the MC helmet fin.
Yeah, I can imagine he would be hating that.
Especially one with the light, because I saw it, because it was at the back of his helmet, and typically that's where I was at. I'd like the rear view, the shot.
I should have put my face on the back so he could look at that all the time, too.
It sucked. I didn't like it. No. Next subject.
Troy Lee definitely had a grip on the custom painted helmets, that's for sure.
The 90s, it was custom through and through.
I could never afford a custom painted helmet.
That's how you identified your personality.
You know, you think of McGrath because he had the best of what Troy Lee could paint up.
He let me always push the envelope. I'd tell him I want to do 10 things to it, and he's like, man, go for it.
But I remember thinking it'd gone too far when Jeremy McGrath showed up at Anaheim wearing a lampshade.
So like for 10 or 11 years straight, I wore a brand new helmet at Anaheim with a crazy idea on it, $100 bills.
It was like it had tassels around it.
Dingleberries, fins.
But you know, he's Jeremy McGrath. He could get away with anything.
What are two-stroke pipes?
There's something about the smell of a two-stroke that just takes me back to my childhood.
Ah, two-stroke pipes. This is my favorite thing to talk about.
Two-stroke pipes, what comes to mind is the cone pipe.
I mean, there's nothing better than a two-stroke pipe that's just blue and just,
It was like a Sherlock Holmes pipe of the 90s. If you had that gleaming FMF or Pro Circuit pipe, you were on point.
No chrome bull, the full-on cone pipe.
Man, two-stroke pipes. The shorter, the louder, the better.
Short silencers save lives.
The 90s, to me, were real.
In my mind, the 90s was totally the golden era. I mean, it was.
I think the scene back then was rap. I think it's gone way too corpo.
90s and early 2000s was definitely the time to be in motocross, I personally think.
I also feel grateful, I guess, that I got to live that time, live that life, so.
Favorite ratio in life? 32-1.
The race gas, New Tech is what we used for like 2 years. Stuff would knock you out. People were like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. I was like, factory bikes.
With just trying to understand what the 90s were all about was AJ CATANZARO. He was born in '93, and it's interesting to see that you're on one of these two strokes here tonight. It was good, though. You said you needed this practice. What are your first impressions for your first straight rhythm?
It's difficult. I'm glad we got 2 hours of practice. Leading into it, I thought 2 hours was a little overkill, but I'm certainly glad we got it. It's a big adjustment going from a 450 to a 125, even though it's a factory 125. It still makes life very difficult. I'm just very lucky I'm on this basically factory-built 125 that Spencer Luxack did from the ground up, and it was just this passion project that it's the nicest bike I've ever ridden. So I'm lucky to be on a good one because I would not want to be on a slow 125 here.
You know, you're talking about the bike, but before we get to that, coming in yesterday and you were able to watch practice, what were you doing to try to get yourself prepared for getting out trackside here tonight and then, of course, tomorrow?
It's a different element not having the turns. And I teach a lot of schools, and typically I tell the students 1 or 2 laps, you should be able to have the track memorized, no problem. But when you don't have a turn, it's very hard to you just get lost. I think I was telling you earlier, you hit one of the mounds that you're supposed to scrub, and it's kind of, I look at it like a reset. And then you forget what's after it. So it makes it very hard to memorize the track. I think it probably took me a good 45 minutes today before I knew what was coming.
I thought your technique too. He was telling me earlier about this technique when you were leaving the track and your visualization, and actually how important that visualization as a rider really is. Walk us through what that was about and how long it really took you to get it in your head.
I was just stuck in traffic on the way back, and I'm saying it out loud, like hoping someone would correct me if I mess it up. I'm like, all right, scrub, double, 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 scrub, what's next? And I couldn't remember, and like after the hour and a half of being stuck in California traffic, I had it figured out. It's fun, it's different, it's a relaxed environment. I don't know if I want to do this every weekend. It'd be pretty stressful to have to forget this track and move on to a whole nother 45-second straightaway, but it's just cool to be here.
Well, one thing you don't have to worry about is your bike, but it's not just because it's an incredible bike. You said it's the best you've ever been on, but this 259 is something exceptionally special, near and dear to your heart, and you can tell with your jersey and your gear set what it's all about. Growing up through the amateur ranks and through the pros, James Stewart was my hero. I think he was many people's hero, and the 259 when he first turned pro, it was something that like we looked at as really like God on a dirt bike. I mean, he did stuff that no one could, and everyone just, he was here and everyone else was here. And everyone just wanted to be like James Stewart. So we were lucky enough to, Spencer Luxack and myself were able to get this program together. I actually sent him a message on Instagram, and I didn't think he was gonna let me use the bike. But thankfully he did, and what we did is we just basically made it look like an 03, 04 James Stewart replica, and we just, Rack Racing, Collective Experience, Federal Hill Home Theaters, Mototape, we really intertwined our own personal sponsors and altered the logos a little bit to make it look like the original bike. So it's a cool project. I think when people come out tomorrow, they're gonna get pretty excited about it. So, you know, the housing of this bike over the weekend, I've heard, has been an interesting story, and it has to do with this van, and it has to do with some people driving the van, and it has to do with a chain. Yes, thankfully we had some bodyguards around the bike at all times. I don't think Spencer was letting the bike out of his sight. And I don't blame him. I think he's got about 30 grand into a 125, so I wouldn't let it out of my sight either. But he did a great job building it, and I'm excited to let this thing eat on the on race day tomorrow. And lastly, AJ, I know you want to get back out there for maybe a couple more runs, but you know, Bubba was one of those guys in the industry that really shows off what the 90s were all about as well. What are some of your favorite moments that maybe he brought to you and light to you as a young gun in the industry? Oh man, there's so many. I mean, things that pop out, just doing rhythm sections and jumps that shouldn't have been done. Even in the amateur days at Minio's in Florida, he was doing, I think it was called the elevator jump. No one else did it. I think 2003 in outdoors, he crashed in the first turn, came back to win. Stuff that like shouldn't happen. So it's just, he's a legend. He's a legend, and hopefully on this bike you'll become one as well. Have fun out there, be safe, and we'll see you out tomorrow. Of course, as we're letting AJ get back on the bike for a couple more runs here, as practice is closing out at 7 p.m. here, local time, we want to get over to Jason because it sounds like he has some things cooking over where he's at. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, that's right. I do, Kate. Now, that's an awesome retro build there for AJ. And another one, this is Ryan Villopoto. He's back, but this year he's on a Yamaha. Now, back in the day, Yamahas were white. This is look very much similar to what Damon Bradshaw used to rock back in the day. And what's so retro about this is not just the motorcycle, but the fact that Ryan's dad, Dan, is his mechanic, which is kind of an old school thing for him. Now, there's nothing quite like that feel and sound and smell of a two-stroke, and the mark of the beast is this, the pipe that comes out of the side of the engine. Now, back in the two-stroke heydays, building a pipe was akin to an art form. So let's pay tribute to the master pipe builders, the heydays of the two-stroke. Here are the holy trinity of two-stroke pipe builders.
The 90s was the golden era.
It's kind of almost like boxing or anything, you know, like there's those eras.
Seeing the smoke fill in the air, I think that's stuff that today, you know, you just don't get.
It was the learning eras, the development all the time, just on the dyno every day, Saturday and Sunday.
I remember everybody talked about, oh, the peak bikes were so fast, and then you look back 5 years after that and you're like, they're okay.
It wasn't so much about business. It was more about, you know, what you could do to your bike on the weekend that would work, and then you go back and take that into production, and it was a cool time.
I would say two-stroke era was Pro Circuit, FMF, and probably Bills. Luckily, we're all still around and stuff like that, so everybody had to learn four strokes.
I would say the rivalry was really real. I mean, it was a time where you had only so much market share.
I think it was more of a friendly competition.
You win on Saturday or Sunday and you sell on Monday.
I think that it was between Mitch and I that had the fastest bikes all the time.
We were able to do, like, you know, the whole package in-house, and we didn't have to go outside to get anything.
You definitely have to give it up to Mitch. His championships definitely proved that he had a pretty damn fast bike.
It's that era thing, you know, like McGrath and some of the guys that rode the peak Hondas would say, oh, those were the gnarliest bikes in the world, right? But as time went on, you just remember them being so good. McGrath was phenomenal as a two-stroke rider, especially when he was young. When you put him in a stadium and there was lights and there was people, like, the guy was amazing.
Two-stroke racing in the early days, you know, you had the guys that could ride them.
Why can't you do the triple, man? I don't know. I just can't do the triple. I just can't do the
You had to use the bowl turn on the outside, get ready, and then send it in second or grab third and then jump it. And it was kind of a little sketchy.
You can tell by somebody who's really a good two-stroke rider, because you can hear that thing running on the pin all the time, and it's fun to watch somebody like that.
I would have to say my favorite two-stroke moment maybe be our very first win having a team, and that would have been at Orlando with Brian Swink. Probably the most amazing two-stroke guy for me in that era after Jeremy was probably Ricky.
Factory pipes had to have the cone look if you want to be factory. They didn't work as good, but you had to have it.
This is a hand cone from flat sheet of steel that was been pounded out by hand on a mandrel.
Cone pipes were absolute eye candy. I like after you haven't smelled it for a while, because, you know, you kind of get immune to certain smells or whatever, and if you got Maxima 927 castor oil, like, it smells awesome.
Two strokes for life, definitely, yes.
I think the whole time we raced two strokes, I don't think they ever sound checked. I don't even think they had a sound meter.
Cliff White from Honda and I were at our shop, and we got a visit from a knock on the door on Sunday from the priest. And the priest knocks on the door and he says, hey, can you guys kind of tame down the Sunday, because we're trying to hold mass. We're just right down the street, and all we can hear is a CR 125 at 12 grand.
So I think you folks are picking up on our theme here. It's retro bikes, and yes, some retro riders that came out of retirement to compete in this event. And that includes my buddy Grant Langston. We worked together all summer in the Pro Motocross Championship GL. You actually competed in this race. You were retired at the time, but you came out and tried it 5 years ago. So what was the experience like?
Well, at the time when I got the call from Red Bull, they said, hey, would you be interested? I wasn't sure if they're talking about riding or commentating. So at that time, but they said, hey, can you come out and race? It's a cool event, try it out. And I thought, you know what? This will be something fun, different. I remember Travis Pastrana came out and did it, and I thought that was cool. And I'll never forget the first time walking up to that start line, and I looked down the track, and I was like, what did I get myself into? And it was really something so different that you think you can prepare for it, but with so many jumps in a row, when you're not used to it, just trying to get that rhythm was just so confusing because you'd put the first piece together and then the second piece. But then if you made one mistake, you didn't know how to come back from it. And you see all the riders behind getting as much practice in it as they can. That's because they're trying different options and really trying to remember this long straightaway, no corner speed is necessary, but you do need to know how to jump through this section as quickly as possible.
Now, GL, your career, you actually bridged the gap. You won some titles and races on 2-strokes. You won some titles and races on 4-strokes. You even rode a 252-stroke in Supercross here and there. So what is that challenge going to be like instead of the 4-strokes that everyone's used to now?
Well, we were just talking about that, and I think VILLOPOTO was saying a little bit earlier. He goes, hey, GL, a lot of these youngsters would struggle racing Supercross on 2-strokes because they grew up mainly on 4-strokes. So it really is, you have to almost retrain yourself. So for a lot of us guys that got used to the 4-strokes, when you go back to a 2-stroke, you almost have to retrain your brain about being really good with the gears, using that clutch, and changing your style and technique. You have to be very precise. You don't have that torque and power to get you out of a situation. It's about momentum and keeping it in the real meat of the power.
Okay, so when you look at the 2-stroke, you look at the track, do you say, oh, VILLOPOTO and Dungey are back, I want back in, or are you just going to be booth time with me?
You know what? It's a little safer in the booth, and my results are better in the booth. Because when you get out on this track with these guys, they are going for it. Don't let them fool you. The Ryans are champions and competitors. When they get out there tomorrow, it's going to be fun for us to call it because they're going to be wide open. They're going to be laughing and joking, but the minute they put that goggle strap on, you're going to see the eye of the tigers come out.
All right. Well, GL, yeah, you did a good job 5 years ago. Do a good job in the booth with me tomorrow night. That'll be 5:30 West Coast time on Red Bull TV. We'll have all the action from Red Bull Straight Rhythm Live. That's GL. I'm Jason. Kate, what's happening on your side?
It's so good to have GL with us. It's such a wealth of information. Well, hey, I said at the top of the show that this track is entirely different. We have 6 sections, 65 obstacles, 110 feet of whoops, and it's all done on a half-mile track. It's definitely a modern-day challenge for these old-school machines.
Hey, I'm Jason Baker from Dream Tracks. We're out here in Pomona at the Fairplex, and we are building the 2018 Red Bull Straight Rhythm. This year at Straight Rhythm, 2 strokes only. We've designed a course specific to them. This track is going to offer a lot of excitement. We're bringing back the 90s, you know, that's everybody's favorite sound. Hearing the 2 strokes rip through the rhythm sections, blitz over top of the whoops, big air. Everything we've done has been based around that fun atmosphere that the 90s was. This year we got 125s. It takes a lot more to get those bikes up in the air, so you're going to see the bellies have a little bit more just pitch to them, and that's what's going to allow these guys to get up in the air and jump the obstacles. We've got 6 sections this year instead of 5. Maybe a little longer lap time, slow it down, but then again, that goes right back to the precision of this track. You got to hit your marks. You got 6 sections to get through, and you got to dial them all in. Right before the finish line, right in front of the crowd, we got a nice set of Supercross whoops. We put those back in this year. There's some options out there. You might see some big air sections, some guys putting some stuff together. When they ride this track and get down to the end the first time, there's going to be smiles on their faces, no doubt.
It's an incredible track, and if you get those tickets, you not only get a chance to see this track up close and personal, but you also get free access to the pits, and that was what one of our social media friends had asked. You also could get a chance to meet this legend, Brian VILLOPOTO, RV, as many like to say. He's just one of the guys that's lining the pits here this weekend. It's actually great to see you. It's quite a surprise to many to see you here, RV.
Yeah, no, come out, check it out. It's a lot of fun. Red Bull Straight Rhythm here is... it's a pretty cool atmosphere, and get to see a lot of 2 strokes, 125s and 250s. It's something you don't get to see a whole lot today. So myself and Dungey and a whole lot of others be out here riding and having a lot of fun. And just the atmosphere is mellow for us, so our stress level is low, and you know, we can have fun with it.
You know, you're over here kind of looking like you're wrenching. You're wiping down your bike. I asked, is that a normal thing? Is that the kind of changes that we're seeing at an event like this, where you're kind of wearing multiple hats?
Yeah, you know, my dad's here, and we're just, you know, doing a little prep on it for tomorrow. We're not going to do too much, just pitting out of the van here. So, yeah, just getting it ready for tomorrow.
Earlier before practice, you had said there was one word that you did not feel on this two-stroke, and that was comfortable. How much more comfortable are you feeling after this 2-hour session?
When you ride, you get to go straight, and you know there's no turns involved. It's pretty easy to get comfortable on the two-stroke. When you have to go ride a real supercross track with turns and everything, and big jumps out of turns, that's where the uncomfortable feeling comes from. So, you know, here it's just getting the combinations down and memorizing the track because it's such a long straightaway.
What are the true differences as a rider when you get on that bike and you're putting your helmet on? What are those true differences that you're thinking about at the start?
I think, you know, racing a two-stroke, you know, you have to be perfect, especially in this track. Being that there's no turns, all you do is go straight. So one little mistake, your run is ruined. But nonetheless, because it's a two-stroke, if you miss something, you don't have the torque or the power to get you out of it. So perfection is going to be key tomorrow.
We're talking about this track. You ran here last year. It was a track that unfortunately defeated you, or you got defeated maybe a little bit by others. But more importantly, the track is a little bit different. How much more are you enjoying this kind of track setup, and how similar is it to what you maybe seen in the past for you?
You know, it's this is a one-off race that the straight rhythm is, and it's like I said, it's going straight. Normally our racing is consecutive laps, and we have turns, and we have lots of time to make up. Lots of time in a race to make up time if you make a mistake. You know, here it's a one shot, 45 seconds, and then the run is over. So there's some pressure involved with just making sure you hit all your marks. It's not necessarily actually, you know, going the fastest. It's not making a mistake while trying to go fast.
Well, another guy out here in the pits that is known to be mistake-free, it's Ryan Dungey. And you guys have had some back and forth on social media. It's actually been kind of fun to watch this week as you guys are both coming here to kind of show off what you can do again as retirees, if you will. How much fun is it?
It's cool. You know, like me and Dunge, where we're at in our careers, or post-career, we've accomplished so much racing dirt bikes. You know, it's cool to be able to come out here, get behind a gate, but and race in front of the fans, because you know, most of the time without events like this, the only gate drops we ever get was, you know, the Anaheims of the world and Vegas and things like that. So which is pretty far-fetched for us to go and do once we are retired. So you know, an event like this gets us out of the house, gets us here, gets us in front of the fans, and you know, keeps the people that are helping us still today, keeps them happy, you know, and we get to enjoy it and have some fun and go racing without a pressure-filled stadium, or, you know, keeping sponsors happy. They're just happy to have us out here participating.
Well, as you're watching, as you're talking here, where of course we see Dungey on the track, knowing that you're here in the pits, how much insight have you really been able to get from these riders who are on track as you're watching yourself?
You know, we had 2 hours to go ride, so it's, I think for all of us, we're just kind of working out all the bugs. You know, and I think he was just getting some things dialed in on his bike. You know, I was able to get mine maybe dialed in a little quicker than him, so I came in just a little bit early. We had 2 hours to come and ride, so and we still have practice tomorrow. So, you know, I felt like I had enough of the track figured out, and we'll figure it out some more tomorrow.
Lastly, RV, when you hear the word two strokes, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, the smell, the smoke that comes out of the exhaust, and you know, you really better know how to ride a two-stroke.
That's probably very true. We will see who comes out on top here tomorrow. As we go to break here, take a look at what else you can check out at Red Bull TV. incredible evening of practice. Jason, it's so much fun being out here, really, right?
Yeah, and now that the lights have come up and the sun has gone down, you really kind of get the feel of what we're in for tomorrow. And as I said at the top of the show, just the fact that we have a track without turns used to be crazy enough, but now we're throwing in the unpredictability of the two-strokes, the old-school bike builds, retired riders coming out and racing. There's so much to look forward to tomorrow.
If you could pick the pit, who you got?
You know, there's a little secret weapon out there. There are 2 riders in the 250 class that are actually like real, active, factory riders. That's Shane McElrath and his teammate Jordan Smith. So that's awesome that the Troy Lee Red Bull KTM team is going to let 2 of their real supercross racers come out and race this on 2-strokes. So they're going to be tough to beat. But even VILLOPOTO told me, and he told you also, one mistake, anyone's eliminated. So there's no guarantees.
I think that's what is the key here today. And I think in every race it's important to be mistake-free, but I think this is that one race that it shows so true that you have to be mistake-free. And one thing that I was talking about with the cat earlier is the moment you lose your focus here, you lose your rhythm. Isn't that ironic? Straight rhythm.
Yeah, it's all about rhythm. And there is, by the way, one non-2-stroke bike. It's not a 4-stroke. It's not even a 1-stroke. We will have the Alta electric bike with the very capable Darren Durham riding it. So we'll throw in, as they like to say in the promos, Future Boy on the electric bike and see how he performs against the retro machine. So yeah, completely unpredictable to assume what's going to happen in the racing. The only way to find out is to watch at 5:30 local time. That's West Coast on Red Bull TV. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, thank you for your time tonight. For Jason, I'm Kate Osborne. We'll see you tomorrow right here at Red Bull TV.